session is over. We have a great commemoration this morning. I welcome all of you and thank you very, very much for your coming. You have other things to do, but you'd rather be here. We thank you. Most of all, I want to salute you one more time to the Korean War veterans, and you're here, and we're here because of you, and we thank you. Exactly 60 years ago, the truce was signed and Korean War was ended. The New York Times, at the same day, 60 years ago, article goes like this: ending the fighting in Korea, POW, prisoner of war. The exchange engineer, the South Korean President Suman Rhee gets U.S. pledge, and President Eisenhower get free war state vision. At the same day, the UPI, United Press, article said President Suman Rhee of South Korea promised in a statement that Seoul Monday to observe the armistice for limited time, while a political conference tried to unify Korea by peaceful means. Finally, the Korean War, which took 3 years, 1 month, and 2 days, it was over temporarily. The war took 972,214 precious lives in Korea, and Americans and the English and the 19 other countries. The 602,902 Koreans died, and 326,863, including 740 from Georgia, died, and 37,678 American soldiers killed in action. We still have 4,245 American soldiers missing in action and still waiting for their return. We're here to mourn and remembering those heroes, my heroes and our heroes, your heroes, who took supreme sacrifices and during the Korean War for Koreans' freedom and lives. I put freedom first before life because without freedom, life is not that worth it. This morning, we're having another opportunity to salute those 740 Georgian soldiers who killed in Korean warfield 60 to 63 years ago. And also, a salute to the survivors who came home safely. Your devotion and your sacrifice in Korea actually made that happen what it is today. And I'd like to recognize the new chapter joining. Actually, this event was started in 1991. However, the Atlanta chapter was the only one chapter attended, and Atlanta chapter called Ray Davis chapter. And last year, the Gainesville chapter joined. It was our excitement. And then now we have a Rome chapter joined us today this morning, and I'd like to recognize the Rome veterans. Please rise so you get recognized. And I'm grateful, and I'm very pleased to see you here and healthy. And God bless you all, and long days. And this is best wishes from myself and all Korean Americans and every veteran. And I would like to thank all the Korean War veterans and guests joining this commemoration. And first in the program, the presentation of colors.
Korean War veterans that are here. And Lord, we just ask for a special blessing to be upon many of the fellows here. We all have some kind of issues. We're on the kind of the other side of the mountain. But give them the strength. We're very proud of each one individually. We want special blessings to be upon the Korean Americans. We are so delighted to have known them. And they gave up much also. Many of their relatives were killed and what have you. And we just ask you to bless them in a mighty way. And also the orchestra, I have a special place in my heart. We ask you, Lord, to direct their paths. These young people are going to be like missiles fired out into a time that we will never see. And among them may be the new president, there may be scientists and doctors. And we just ask you, Lord, to bless them in a mighty way. Last of all, we ask you, Lord, to protect our soldiers, those who are in harm's way in Afghanistan, Iraq, and some of the other places. We ask you to protect them, put a hedge of protection around them, and Lord, just send a legion of angels from heaven to fight the spiritual warfare that's on this earth today. We just ask all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Good morning. It is my great pleasure to greet you at the outset of this memorable 60th anniversary of the Korean War armistice. On behalf of the American Korean Friendship Society, I want to thank the Korean American Youth Orchestra of Hope, Johns Creek, the Honor Guard of Georgia National Guard, the Georgia Veterans Affairs Office with Mr. Pete Wheeler, thank you, the National Chairman of the Christian Businessmen's Connection, Mr. Young, the American Korean Friendship Society, Mr. Sonny Park, and everyone else who has labored to organize today's ceremony. The Korean American Friendship was founded in 1997 here in Atlanta to foster and strengthen the special relationship between the peoples of the United States and the Republic of Korea. It is in this spirit that the American Korean Friendship Society is honored to host today's wreath-laying ceremony in honor of our Korean War veterans. My purpose today is to lead those present in saying thank you to our Korean War veterans for their sacrifices and to remember their courage, their dedication, and their achievements. The 3 years of war in Korea were absolutely brutal. During the course of that war, 5.7 million Americans were called into service, and by the time the armistice was signed in July of 1953, more than 36,000 Americans had lost their lives, including 740 soldiers from right here in the state of Georgia. As we've often heard, the Korean War is too often called the forgotten war. But it will never be forgotten by the veterans that we see here today and their families and their friends. Today, let us remember those veterans who laid down their lives on the Korean Peninsula in defense of the freedoms of us here in America. Let us also remember those living veterans here with us today. And let us never forget the bravery, the sacrifice, and the legacy that they have left to us and all free peoples. I want to personally thank each veteran that served in the Korean War and answered the call to duty. You are an integral part of the strong foundation that has made America and our armed forces the most respected in the world. Again, on this day, we honor and we respect you for your service as a veteran of the Korean War. You are true American patriots. Thank you, God bless you, and welcome.
It is indeed my personal honor to recognize war hero. And please forgive me if I pronounce the name incorrectly, because I'm from Korea with a Korean accent. Also, I lived here about 40 years with a southern accent. Our war heroes as follows. Paul Scruggs, would you stand? Harry Jones. Listen. Robert McHughes. Jack Seabrook. Samuel Horseman. Wayne Pointer. Thank you so much.
Well, we want to recognize all Korean War veterans. We thank you very much. Koreans in Georgia put together and built a memorial right at the front of the Twin Towers, the Queen Memorial Park, the garden, and we erected the monument and memorial. And it was so hot every year, July, it's so hot for years, rain. So we decided to take a picture and bring it here. So you get the chance, and when the weather gets better, and go out to look at this. Every one of the 740 individuals who took supreme sacrifice are our heroes, and we're going to see them one day. We will thank them separately.
Good morning. Korean War veterans and distinguished guests. Today, we gather together to honor the heroes who put their lives in harm's way to defend a country they did not know and the people they have never met. During the Korean War, 740 soldiers from the state of Georgia perished, and we will never forget their sacrifice. To the honorable veterans and their families who are here this morning, we are here today to pay tribute to all of the heroes that risked their lives, as well as those who gave them so that my countrymen could be free. Without your sacrifice, the Republic of Korea would not be what it is today, and the course of our history would have been dreadfully different. Thanks to your commitment, South Korea has thrived over the past 6 decades, She has transformed into one of the largest global economies from the ashes that war rose down upon her, like a phoenix from the flames. Thanks to your gallantry and bravery, South Korea has prospered into a country that persistently pursues peace, freedom, and democracy. On behalf of my country, I'd like to again express how deeply indebted we are for the invaluable service you bestowed to my country during a time of grief and despair. Thank you, Korean War veterans. You are our true heroes forever. You will always be in our hearts. Thank you. God bless you.
Good morning. It's my pleasure and honor to be with you here this morning. I had the honor when I chaired Cobb County to visit the Republic of Korea 2 times and to work with Sunny Park to create a sister city relationship with Songdong-gu. It has been a very valuable relationship for both communities. On those 2 trips to Korea, as well as subsequent opportunities with citizens from the Republic of Korea, I have gained much respect for the Korean people and their culture. But I think one of the things I remember the most and will remember the most is the 2 occasions I've been at the DMZ. Because in America, we're born with freedom and liberty, and many of us take it for granted. But when you go to the DMZ and you look at the North Korean soldiers several feet away from you, you no longer take that freedom and liberty for granted. You clearly see the difference between a democratic nation and a totalitarian nation. As was just stated by the Deputy Consul General, it is amazing to think that the Republic of Korea now boasts the 13th largest economy in the world. The Korean people's vision for liberty and freedom, work ethic, love of education, and respect to family are contagious. God bless the 740 Georgians and their family who gave the ultimate sacrifice to free the South Korean people, along with the many Georgians who sustained serious injuries fighting for democracy for Korea. And God bless the Republic of Korea and the example they set for the free world each and every day. Thank you. 감사합니다.
Thank you, Attorney General Sam Otis. I may not get the chance to thank the Georgia National Guard, and especially the honor guards, because they're busy working, and when I'm busy working, I may forget to thank them. I would like to ask you to recognize the honor guards of Georgia State of Georgia. They're wonderful each year, such a hot summer days. They always serve, and we thank them.
Good morning. Mr. Attorney General, always good to see you, sir. Thank you for letting me be with you today. General, thank you for your remarks. Gentlemen, great to see you, sir. Sonny, thank you for the invitation. I was invited to be here today, and I'm truly honored to be here today. But it was less of an invitation. And in the military, we're very familiar with the idea of being voluntold rather than volunteering. So I knew when the invitation came from Sonny Parks to be here today, it was more of a voluntold to be here today. So I am truly honored to be here today. And truly to the distinguished guests who we are here to honor, not just you, but those whose names are on the board and that we think of every single day. It is truly an honor to be in your presence. I'd also like to mention our State Command Sergeant Major Philip Stringfield. Always good to see you, my friend. Other members, Colonel Jesse Simmons from our Air National Guard. We are well represented here today, and along with our honor guard, as Sonny has mentioned. Our team continues to serve on the war front. Right now, today, almost 1,000 folks who are serving in harm's way. We would certainly appreciate it if you keep them in your prayers and remember them in your thoughts. But that's not why we're here today. We're here today to remember an armistice that took place 60 years ago tomorrow. 60 years. It could not have happened without the sacrifice that all of you made. And we are here to thank you. It could not have happened without the sacrifice that these men and women made. And we're here to honor them as well. An armistice is an agreement to stop fighting, and Sonny alluded to that a little while ago. It's not necessarily an end of a war. It's not a surrender. The war continues to this very day. I'll never forget the time that I landed at Osan, and on rollout on the runway at Osan, we looked to the right. We were landing to the west. We looked to the right and saw the batteries of surface-to-air missiles with a green light ready to go on a moment's notice. That commitment that continues to this very day could not have been reached without the sacrifice that you all made. Thank you. We pause to remember the almost 800 who did not come home. We remember them every single day. We honor them every single day. They served valiantly in harm's way. Of note, of the almost 350,000 who served in combat in Korea for a United Nations fighting force, 88% of those were Americans. We pause to remember them and honor them. Names like Second Lieutenant Hugh Adair, Marine Second Lieutenant from College Park, killed October the 2nd, 1950. Sergeant John Adams, an Army sergeant from Oconee County, Georgia, killed November 24th, 1952. Sergeant First Class Willis Rogers from Savannah, Georgia, killed November 24th, 1951. Thomas Robert Thompson, killed December 12th, 1950. Ladies and gentlemen, those are my remarks, but I'd like to close with a quote. It's a quote from a gentleman named John Stuart Mills. We need to remember these words. You all know these words quite well, I'm sure. It starts, and he wrote, "War is an ugly thing, but not the ugliest of things. The decayed and degraded state of moral and patriotic feeling which thinks that nothing is worth war is much worse. The person who has nothing for which he is willing to fight, nothing which is more important than his own personal safety, is a miserable creature and has no chance of being free unless made and kept so by the exertions of better men than himself." Ladies and gentlemen, those better men are you, and we are here to honor you today. Again, and on behalf of the governor of the state of Georgia, we want to thank you for your selfless service. May God continue to bless you. May God bless Georgia, and may God always bless these great United States of America. Thank you.
Hey everyone, Deputy Counsel, good morning. Attorney General, good morning. Adjutant General, good morning. General Ellis, Commissioner Wheeler, General Donald, and I had a surprise this morning. I met a new general, Lieutenant General Billy Brown. Mr. Brown, would you stand up? No one has met Mr. Brown yet. He is in the chaplain's corps. Thank you, General. Other distinguished guests this morning, of which there are many. And I wouldn't forget Mr. Sonny Parks. We'd like to thank Sonny for all his efforts and again pulling this important event together. It's much appreciated by all our veterans. It is gratifying to see so many fellow veterans, not only from our chapter, but also from the veterans organizations in the northern Georgia area on this very important occasion. We feel, along with our good Korean friends, that it is important to observe the date the armistice It is very important that Georgians remember their participation and sacrifice that was made to keep the people free. 740 Georgians lost their lives during this terrible war. And we also must not forget over 1,400 that were wounded. And we should remember the suffering of the 97 prisoners of war. We still have 96 Georgians missing in action and still not accounted for to this day. On this day, we should also remember those members of our organization who have passed away. The date, July 27, 1953, 60 years ago, saw the signing of the armistice that ended the fighting as we knew it on the Korean Peninsula. It was signed at 10:01 a.m. and took only 10 minutes for all those documents to be completed after all the horrors of the war. Historians seldom mention that half of the well over 36,000 Americans who lost their lives in the war were killed during the armistice talks, which lasted almost 2 years. A true tragedy. The end of the fighting has been called, among other things, a truce, ceasefire, a settlement, and an armistice. And to many Americans, the most commonly recognized label is the Forgotten War. But to the Korean veterans and the people of the Republic of Korea, it is the Forgotten Victory. We need only to look at South Korea today to understand. Do you remember when we came back? Do you remember when we returned? We were back from the Korean War, but there were no victory celebrations, no parades, no thank you very much. We just returned to our previous lives, our family, school, or work. Yet looking back at history, the war was considered to have been the first battle in a decade-long Cold War between communist powers in the West. History also tells us that we prevailed, but under the most difficult circumstances with great losses. Our nation and the world owes a debt of gratitude to those special veterans who fought and died so that a people could be free. Freedom is not free. Freedom is a great reward, but a reward that requires great sacrifice. Our history is an example of the sacrifice made by the men and women who gave their lives to create and uphold freedom. As Korean veterans, we still have a duty, and that is to make sure this terrible war does not disappear from the memories of the American people. We know from our own experiences in the chapter that in schools there is a subject not covered in the children's studies, and that is the Korean War. And most teachers know little or nothing of this major historic event. So it is a challenge, but our organizations must keep getting the message out. And again, thank you all for coming today to this important annual event. May God bless the Korean veterans and their families. May God bless our military. May God bless the parents.
Little remark I'd like to make is Korea, South Korea, was one of the recipients of the America's effort to save lives and freedom. But Korea was not the only country that you helped. But today, there's more than 100 countries the United States helped, and I think, maybe I'm biased, but I think that South Korea is the only country in the world that still appreciate it, and they want to teach young kids, young students, what you did. So what you have done, the country you never saw, you never knew, and you never heard, was not wasted, but it is still working. So what you have done is beyond expression, my expression. I can find any word, and I don't know, any Korean can find the right word to thank you. And our children will remember ages and ages. And I like to bring my grandchild from New York, just got over. Come on, bring out here. Wow. It's the grace and price. I want to teach them what you have done for me, so they have their family, and they will teach them, your kids, teach your kids what you have done. The freedom, without the life without freedom, it's not worth it, and the study is not free. Thank you very much. Today, but I cannot recognize all of them. If I mention one or two, some other VIP will get upset at me, and I don't like that. So I appreciate it. Then I also want to recognize Hope Johnson, John's Creek, the orchestra. Every year, the young students that come and play music for us, they are so great. Thank you very much. Now, we have a little gift prepared. About 2 years ago, we ordered a T-shirt with a medal on the T-shirt, and at one time, and so we sent it out to all the Korean War veterans. A little medal right here, in print. And at one time, I was in a shopping mall, walking around, a gentleman walking around with a T-shirt, and it's so faded that the medal was faded out. So I said, no, we gotta do a new one, because your medal should be shining, shiny as a gold all the time. And this time it's not a T-shirt, but we got a polo shirt like this. And I have a medal right here. And this is not gold, but it is a precious, the heart medal from all Koreans and Korean Americans in Georgia. What's it on? For that reason, I'd like to present 3.
My brother-in-law was killed in Korea. He was 19 years old. And how I got in touch with this, the embassy called there in Rome, who was called here, the Davis outfit here in Atlanta.
That's how we got between two thorns.
60년 전에는 우리나라를 잘 몰랐을 텐데 많은 분들이 그런 나라에 가서 피를 흘리고 죽었는데 감동 많이 받았어요.
우리가 예를 들어서 내가 돈이 무척 필요한 사람인데 갑자기 어느 날 아침에 낯선 사람이 문을 두들겨 나가보니까 100만 불이 드는 돈 보따리를 문 앞에다가 놔두고 날 보고 쓰라고 소리는 사라졌어요. 이름도 안 주고. 근데 그 생긴 사람이 영 이상하게 나같이 생긴 사람이 아니고 그런 사람이 떠났어요. 그랬을 때 얼마나 고마운 마음이 있어요. 지금 이 식구들은 병이 아프고 배는 고프고 먹을 것도 없고 입을 것도 없는 상황인데 그 상황과 비교하면은 한국 전쟁 때 미국인들이 다른 나라 우방 16개국이 고귀한 생명을 잃어가면서까지 한국인들의 자유를 지켜줬다고요. 그 이후에 생명을 지켜줬다고. 그런 그 관계가 형성이 60년 전에 됐는데 그것을 고맙게 생각하는 거죠. 그래서 사실은 인터뷰하는 자체가 돈 받은 사람을 인터뷰하시는 건데 돈 준 사람들하고 인터뷰하시고 그 혜택을 준 사람들 그분들을 더 채워줘야 되는데 위상을 세워주셔야 되는데 저를 인터뷰하시면서 좀 부끄럽습니다. 그러나 우리들이 한국인으로서 나만의 그 자유를 찾아준 그 혜택을 입은 사람들로서 고마운 마음을 계속 고쳐주고 또 그걸로 그 교육을 젊은 사람들에게 시켜줌으로써 그 사람들이 그 자유의 가치를 계속 누리게 하는 그 교육의 효과. 안 그러면은 그렇지 않으면은 언젠가는 또 독재자가 나오거나 나쁜 정치가 활개를 치는 그러한 세상이 될 수도 있다는 겁니다. 그래서 그 자유가 내가 가진 의사를 발표할 수 있고 내가 가고 싶은 곳을 언제나 갈 수 있고 이러한 자유가 그 가치가 가지고 있었는데 잘 모르는데 6.25를 겪은 나는 비록 어렸지만 그때 겪은 그 자유를 지금은 무척 느낄 수가 있어요. 자라가지고. 그래서 그 가치를 젊은 사람들에게 많이 가르쳐줬으면 하는 그 뜻이 있습니다.